Bulletstorm VR had a rocky launch when it first came out on January 18th, on Quest, PS VR2, and PC VR. But after a few updates, it's starting to get good reviews, and I felt it was time for me to give it a whirl. With the 1.3 update, they have added dynamic foveated rendering to PS VR2, and on all versions they improved the pixel density, added loading screen images, fixed a broken trophy, added NPC idle animations, and added an uncensored version that restored the foul language contained within the original version. They have also announced a few new features that will be coming in future updates, such as Horde mode, left-hand mode, weapon upgrades, upgrades to the energy leash, and more skill shots. Also, for me, the game never crashed, even though I heard that was an issue prior to this update. I have completed the game and I had a blast, but this video isn't really about whether or not I like it, it's about whether or not you will. So I'm going to try and point out the things that I feel this game does right and the things that I felt weren't so great, so that you can see if this game is for you. Before I break it down though, I would like to just thank you for being here and supporting my small channel, and if you like what you see and want to help me grow, please hit the subscribe button and drop a like. Bulletstorm is clearly a flat game that has been converted to VR. There are a lot of things you can't really interact with, but they have made the things that you do interact with work very well. Some of the options in this game are immersive reloading, which I prefer, but there are other options such as semi-immersive and single button reloading. There are two options for the energy leash as well, one that's eye-tracked. Other options include having the cinematic cutscenes display on a flat screen or in a stereoscopic 3D one, but for cutscenes you are always pulled into a virtual room with a screen floating in front of you. The language can be censored or comically vulgar. The enemies take a lot of hits if you just shoot them, but the game encourages you to use environmental kills such as kicking them into electric wiring, or onto walls of spikes, or blowing them up with combustible barrels, etc. Also, if you aim for the throat, they can be dispatched pretty quickly. Enemy AI is not very intelligent at all, and in normal mode you can take a lot of hits from most enemies, making this title pretty easy to conquer. If you start to see red around the screen, you basically just need to find cover until you heal back up, and playing the game without a death feels very possible, but I felt unstoppable and my arrogance did get me killed twice on my first playthrough. The game is not very long. I beat it in under 5 hours my first time through, and that includes all of the cutscenes. That said, it was just under 5 hours of what felt like a fully fleshed out title that had some fun scenarios like shooting ATVs with a minigun from the back of a train, or battling foes from a moving helicopter, running down a building with gravity boots, as well as a lot of typical first-person shooter play. Like I said earlier, this is clearly a flat game converted to VR, but this style of game is popular because they often feel more fleshed out than full VR titles. Bulletstorm is no different in that regard. The graphics are good, even if a bit dated, and I didn't notice any clipping. I didn't see any invisible walls in my playthrough other than some hanging ivy that I couldn't seem to shoot through. As far as bugs, there were two occasions where I had enemies fall to areas where I couldn't see or shoot them, but they didn't die, and then the game refused to progress with them still alive, resulting in me having to reload the level. That said, the autosaves are pretty well dispersed, and reloading my last checkpoint didn't really set me back too far, so it was a mild inconvenience at most. Using immersive reload had a little bit of awkwardness to it. Sometimes when I tried to pull the bolts to load the chamber, my avatar would grab the bottom of the gun and pull it towards me instead, and a few times where it just didn't feel like the game knew what I was trying to do. But letting go and restarting the action seemed to fix it when it got weird. If this game was more challenging, this would have been more frustrating, but since you are a bullet sponge, I really can't blame these wonky mechanics for either of my deaths, and I was able to switch weapons or figure it out without really being in any serious danger. The sniper rifle is a little weird to control and definitely doesn't feel like a typical VR sniper rifle, but it works once you get used to it. When you put your second hand on the gun, you are fully placed inside the scope of the rifle, which can make it a little tricky to find your target. Once you fire, you can move the bullet with your head and controller, and there is a time slow effect where the enemy will attempt to dodge the bullet, and you have to kind of follow them with your head to guide the bullet. It's a very strange mechanic, and I will say the sniper rifle is the goofiest weapon in the game in my opinion. Every weapon has a regular and charged mode, though the charges are limited and can only be replenished by buying them in-game with in-game points. So I didn't really get too involved in using them in my first run. And every weapon is upgradable. You also have an energy leash that allows you to grab and pull things from a distance. This game has a lot of gore. Enemies can lose limbs, have their heads blown off, and can even be blown in half. It feels like the game was going for shock value with its crude language and gore when it first came out, but I don't feel like the gore is nearly as shocking now, or I have just grown desensitized to it. Through the game you will switch between Grayson Hunt and Trishka Novak. Both characters have guns, energy leashes, and a kick attack, but Trishka also has energy blades that make her pretty overpowered in my opinion, so slicing through her levels wasn't very challenging for me. Also, I don't really love how wielding the energy blades felt. It just seems like you're waving your hands at things and they die. Sometimes you really don't even see the blades as you slice through things, and I feel like this could be improved a bit as well, but I didn't let it bother me. The campaign is linear and story driven. There don't appear to be any alternate paths. There are a few scavenger hunt elements in the game, like drink and break every alcohol bottle and destroy every news bot. And there are challenges called skill shots that you can try to achieve. So this game does have some replay value. I might go back and play it on hard as well just to unlock the trophy and experiment with some of the weapons that I didn't really play with much in my first run through. This game retails for $39.99 US on PlayStation VR2, Quest 2, Pro, and 3, and Steam VR. Though on Steam VR right now it's on sale for $27.99. Despite its flaws, I thought this game was fun. It wasn't challenging or frustrating. It was just an enjoyable VR experience where you get to be an overpowered badass, obliterating your enemies through some cool environments and scenarios for some mindless entertainment, and I'm content with my purchase. I hope this review has given you a realistic expectation of what this game is, so that you can make the correct choice about whether or not you would enjoy adding it to your library. And on that note, let me know in the comments if you plan to get this title, or if you have played this, tell us what you think of it. I am sure the other observers of this video would like to know as much as I would. Thanks again for watching, don't forget to subscribe, and game on!